The opening segment. I swear to God, it's a real roller coaster, this opening segment, because they managed to take something that I wasn't really interested in seeing, started getting me interested in seeing it, and then by the time they finished off, I was less interested in seeing it than I was when they started. How long did this go?
I think it was like
It
20
was
minutes.
it seemed like days. And again, MJF, they have I mean, he's trying. He and Hangnail Adam Page were going to have a face off, a confrontation. They were going to air out the grievances. And the announcers made sure to tell us during MJF's entrance that he and Page are not allowed to touch. If they get in a fight, there's going to be fines, suspensions. This is the same thing as the no interference rule in the intercontinental, what title is it? Whatever. Where they say in those matches, there's no outside interference allowed. There's supposed to be normally no outside interference allowed. If they can stop it here, they can stop it there. If they can stop it at once, they can stop it for all. Why do they set the precedent that all this tomfoolery could be stopped if they just say, you're not allowed to do this? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and we had just talked about recently how it only works in certain scenarios and it's overdone. The idea that here are the two guys and they're going to stand in opposite corners and just give speeches to the other one about a variety of things, apparently.
And you have to listen. You have to stand there and listen, and then you'll get your chance to respond. There's not even a representative of the promotion, the announcer holding the microphone, some general manager in to keep any order. It's just two guys running each other down endlessly because that's what they see on the WWE programs, and that's what they're trying to do. But the problem is, all the guys that are allowed to talk for 20 minutes in the WWE are over as fuck to a big audience who wants to hear this shit and understands what they're talking about. And they like it. And even then, sometimes it's burdensome on us, as we've joked about the wrestling matches getting in the way of the oratory. But yes, MJF can talk his ass off, but god damn, you need two to tango or Watusi or whatever. And then you need somebody to either MJF can write his own material, but he's got to have a direction, and you got to have somebody write for this other fucking guy. And he sounds like that he set like a book report in 10th grade overnight writing this that he thought would sound, I'm talking about Hangnail, that he thought would sound literate and flowery, and the verbiage is just as grandiose, and he's fucking fake, and he doesn't use words like that in real life. If he does, he's a fucking nerd. And I didn't care. Then MJF started talking, and I kind of started, okay, this might not be bad. And then by the time that Page had finished and they both had rebutted the rebuttal, I was like, God damn. I mean, MJF started talking after nobody said anything while they just stared at each other. Then MJF started back in 2019, and already I was like, oh, God. Page cost MJF the Casino Battle Royal and the shot at the title. So MJF beat all of the fans' favorite wrestlers, including Page, for the first time he won the Diamond Ring. And he main evented Wembley, and he won the world title because he's better than you, because he's MJF and you know it, or whatever the fuck. Okay, that's fine. And then Page responds, and he does the complete babyface promo about how that he worked for everything. At least he may have done some horrible things, but he's had some kind of moral compass when he was burning people's homes down and terrorizing. But MJF can't be happy because he hasn't won something from the fans, and he's starting to allude that MJF has not won the fans' respect. And MJF does the thing where he flips out and screams, shut up. And then he catches himself like, oh my God, I've lost control. The problem I have with this is, while yes, he's trying to plant the subliminal message that he's secretly so insecure and that people can hit his button's too touchy, Brian. Was there any reason for anybody that was trying to hide any inner emotion to flip the fuck out at that vague illusion, is what I'm asking you. That's the question.
You wouldn't think so, but I guess the vague illusion is supposed to be part of a bigger picture where MJF seeks the approval of the masses, which causes him to do the wrong thing in terms of good versus bad all the time.
Yeah. It's
it went
too much.
You know what? It went too much in the direction of emotions again. Like it just
yes.
Not just with MJF. MJF and Adam Page both. They both needed like a restart in terms of attitude. And this went a long time, and I'll let you keep going.
Hold on now, because we haven't got to the rebuttal of the rebuttal, because MJF responded to the response with all the dirty stuff that Page had done, and the people cheered him, including burning Swerve's house down, and the people chanted, or not chanted, but cheered. They were chanting cowboy shit, and by the time MJF got finished here, so he accomplished that. But they cheered the mention of Adam Page burning down another one of the babyface's houses. This is the amount of control that they have fucking lost. And then MJF says, they love you, but do you love you? Do you love you because what you did to Christopher Daniels? Because they said Page ended Daniels' career. Well, then Page got pissed off about that and said, I would give Chris Daniels my own spine if I could. What the fuck? Then why'd you fucking hurt him? And he put Daniels over. He said he died a warrior's death. If people didn't know the story, they would think they're talking about a dead person. He did. Wait a minute. Are they trying to say he killed Christopher Daniels? Because no mention was made until we see him here in a minute that Daniels was still alive. Because Page, instead of saying, I didn't mean to break his neck, he said he died a warrior's death. You say that all the time in fucking heated conversation with somebody you don't like. And then Page started rambling again about how great Daniels was, to the point that he was losing the people. There was a small fall, an angel chant, but he was losing the point of what they were trying to do here. Daniels was a side note to where they were going, and they took the turn and went to check in at the Motor Lodge. And then Page asks, what would the fans say about you, MJF, if you died tomorrow, if your career was over tomorrow, and blah, blah, blah. And that's what I jotted down. I said, MJF had me and kind of the fans interested in this, and the longer that Page talked, the less interested I'm at. And the verbose and flowery verbiage turned into a bad actor. MJF answered him back again, made fun of Page being a child and naive. And then he went into a soliloquy about how Page came in 2019 and was pushed from the start and given the ball to run with, even though MJF has always been better. And then they built up to a big exchange where MJF said, name one thing you do better than me. And Page's response was, I am real. Okay, we phrased it in the form of a question. And that's a great statement, and it was in a fake tone, by the way, but it's not the answer. Name one thing you do better than me. The answer is not, I am real. That's not a thing I do better.
This comes on the heels of announcing that someone died a warrior's death.
Yes. And then they had a long face-off where they got an even smaller cowboy shit chant. And then MJF finished up with, I've got no problem being the bad guy. But it was just back of so long. Then they took their jackets off and threatened to fight. But security came out, but they couldn't touch each other. MJF spit in Paige's face and ran off. And so Paige started beating up security until Chris Daniels returned from the grave and came out looking chipper and stopped him. And then the fans were chanting Fallen Angel louder than they'd been chanting cowboy shit. And then Daniels gave Paige a pep talk. You're better than this. He's not who you are. And by the time they walked off, like you said, we were 20 minutes into this thing. It's just on and on. They feel like they have to. It was not counting commercials. They talked the length of a 30-minute sitcom. And
I thought they were going to go Broadway.
You know what? That's what they ought to do sometime. Just have a 2-hour interview segment.
We have standby matches. We didn't know this would keep going, and it keeps going. We'll be back.
But anyway, to talk me down off the ledge.
I wish I could. The length was probably the single biggest issue because the length caused a whole lot of superfluous stuff to be thrown in this. Then it was all over the place. The reasoning was all over the place. Whatever this is was all over the place. Hangman, who completely seems like you don't want to say a gimmick because he's not like interesting like a gimmick, but he doesn't seem real. And then he says, I am real.
In a fake way.
Like, who thought this was a good idea? That's what gets me is was this a compromise? Did they ask him what he wanted to do and he said, I want to talk like this? Who thought any of that was a good idea? You know, I think they also have a problem where MJF, specifically, I don't know about Adam Page, MJF's usually responsible for one of the better quarters if he's in a quarter on a show. I can understand maybe wanting him to take up the entire quarter so that it would do that, but this went forever. Like I said, I thought it was going to go Broadway. About 15 minutes in, I didn't know when this was going to end. And then it finally ended, and they went to a really, really, really long match right after it. But I want to be excited to see these two wrestle. It's coming on the heels of all this. Where did Jeff Jarrett go? Is he gone? Did they just remove him from all of this?
I don't know, but I think you hit on something there, though. I want to see Paige and MJF wrestle. I want to see them wrestle more now if they will wrestle instead of talking again. Can we make that trade? Don't let Paige talk anymore. And I saw Jeff this morning.
What?
I had a glass of milk. See now you got to be a certain age.
I'm not a fan of Jeff Jarrett's, you know that, but I'm always honest about his good matches or good things. That would kind of suck if his last thing on national TV was that really bad promo. Like, there has to be some. I'm sure they're going to do something with him. It couldn't.
Well, yeah, they announced this big year he's going to have to prove himself. It's not even the end of February. We have to see him again, don't we?
They removed him from TV before the end of February. I don't know. Well, back to Dynamite. A wonderful show on Dynamite.